Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. Good evening, everyone. Today, I want to talk about someone extraordinary, someone we all know, someone we all love, and someone we might not fully understand, the woman who fights alone. This isn't about pity or pedestalizing. It's about acknowledging the quiet strength that too often goes unnoticed. It's about learning from her resilience and asking ourselves what it really means to face life with courage. When we think of courage, our minds often leap to the big dramatic moments. The firefighter running into a burning building, the activist standing on the world stage, the warrior leading a charge. Those acts are undeniable examples of bravery, but they're not the whole picture. Courage doesn't always show up in a way that grabs headlines or commands applause. Sometimes courage is quieter. It's in the small, unremarkable acts that no one else sees. It's in the woman who gets up at dawn every day, even when exhaustion clings to her like a heavy fog. It's in the woman who faces her fears, not in one bold leap, but in 1,000 steady, deliberate steps. The woman who fights alone reminds us that courage isn't a one-time event. It's a practice. It's not about grand gestures, but about showing up again and again, even when every part of you wants to quit. It's found in those moments when she sits at the kitchen table late at night, balancing bills with a calculator and a prayer. It's in her choice to keep going when it would be easier to stop, to keep loving when the world hasn't always been kind, to keep dreaming even when life feels like it's only dealt her disappointments. Her courage doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wave flags or demand attention. It doesn't even ask for recognition. It exists in her willingness to face life on her terms, even when the odds are stacked against her. It's the quiet, determined kind of bravery that we rarely talk about, but should, because it's the kind of courage that changes lives. Not just hers, but the lives of everyone who watches her persevere. This is the courage of showing up for yourself when no one else is clapping, of choosing to believe in your own worth, even when it feels like the world has forgotten it. It's not loud. It doesn't need to be. It's the steady rhythm of a heart that refuses to give up. And there's nothing more powerful than that. We often live in a world that celebrates strength, independence, and stoicism. We're taught to hide our struggles, to mask our pain, and to project an image of perfection, even when it's far from the truth. But the woman who fights alone understands something that many of us spend our entire lives trying to grasp. True strength isn't about pretending to be unshakable. It's about having the courage to be seen as you really are, flaws and all. She knows that vulnerability is not a weakness, but a profound act of bravery. It takes far more strength to admit you're struggling than it does to put on a facade. She embraces the moments when she falls apart because she understands that it's in those moments that we often find clarity, healing, and the opportunity to rebuild. She doesn't shy away from her scars or hide the tears she's cried in silence. Instead, she owns them. They are a testament to the battles she has faced and survived, and they remind her that every crack in her armor tells a story of resilience. The woman who fights alone teaches us that being vulnerable doesn't mean you're fragile. It means you're human. It means you've loved deeply enough to risk heartbreak, tried boldly enough to risk failure, and cared enough to risk disappointment. Vulnerability isn't about losing control. It's about letting go of the illusion that control is the goal. It's about opening yourself up to the possibility of connection, even when it feels safer to retreat behind walls. Somebody else once said to me, hey, we really need therapists. And like, well, and here's the paradox. The more she leans into her vulnerability, the stronger she becomes. By showing up authentically, whether it's asking for help, sharing her story, or simply saying, I'm not okay right now, She not only finds the support she needs, but also inspires others to do the same. Her willingness to be vulnerable creates a ripple effect, reminding everyone around her that they don't have to go through life pretending to have it all together. She redefines what it means to be strong. Strength isn't about never breaking. It's about knowing how to put yourself back together. It's about finding the courage to face life's storms without hiding from them and to share the truth of those experiences with others. Vulnerability is the bridge between isolation and connection, and the woman who fights alone walks that bridge with grace, proving that the most powerful thing we can do is simply be real. Amid all the battles the woman who fights alone faces, the external challenges, the responsibilities, the pressures, there is one battle that towers above them all, the one within herself. It's not the struggle to pay bills, raise children, or navigate a world that often feels indifferent to her efforts. It's the quiet, relentless fight against the voice in her head that whispers, "You're not enough." That voice is cruel, persistent, and familiar. It picks at her when she's tired, pointing out every mistake she's ever made. It reminds her of every time she fell short, every opportunity she missed, every person she couldn't please. It makes her question if she's doing enough, being enough, or if she ever will be. This inner critic doesn't relent even when she's at her most vulnerable. In fact, it thrives on her doubt, and it takes incredible strength for her to confront it. But the woman who fights alone knows that the only way to silence that voice is through self-compassion. It's not an easy lesson to learn, and it's not one that comes naturally. Self-compassion feels, at first, like weakness. It feels indulgent, even selfish, in a world that tells her she should always be giving, striving, and sacrificing. But she learns, slowly and painfully, that beating herself up doesn't make her stronger. It doesn't make her a better mother, friend, or professional. It just makes her weary. Choosing self-compassion is the hardest fight she will ever face. It requires her to look at herself in the mirror and offer the same kindness and grace she gives so freely to others. It means forgiving herself for the times she stumbled and acknowledging that imperfection is not failure. It's simply part of being human. It means accepting that her worth is not tied to her productivity, her achievements, or her ability to meet every demand placed upon her. The woman who fights alone teaches us something profound. Self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook. It's about holding yourself with gentleness and understanding, even as you push yourself to grow. It's about recognizing that you are doing the best you can with what you have, and that is enough. It's about allowing yourself to rest without guilt, to celebrate small victories without hesitation, and to see yourself as worthy, even when you don't feel like it. This battle is ongoing. There are days when she falters, when the inner critic gets louder, when old wounds reopen. But the beautiful thing about self-compassion is that it doesn't demand perfection. It just asks for effort. And every time she chooses to be kind to herself, even in the smallest of ways, she's winning that battle. She's rewriting the narrative of her worth, one act of grace at a time. And in doing so, she shows all of us that the greatest strength comes not from fighting the world, but from making peace with ourselves. In a world where challenges can often feel like insurmountable walls, the woman who fights alone sees things differently. While others might stop at the barriers in front of them, whether they're societal expectations, personal setbacks, or circumstances that feel unfair, she has a remarkable ability to imagine something more. She doesn't deny the existence of the wall. She sees it clearly. She just refuses to let it define the limits of her journey. Where some people might see a dead end, she sees an opportunity to create a new path. She doesn't wait for someone else to remove the obstacle or to hand her a solution. Instead, she takes what she has, no matter how little it may seem, and starts building. Brick by brick, piece by piece. She transforms what once seemed impassable into something that connects her to where she wants to go. This ability isn't about resources or privilege. It's about mindset. It's about refusing to be boxed in by what others think is possible. She knows that her circumstances might not change overnight, but that doesn't stop her from moving forward, however slowly. If the system isn't built for her, she'll innovate her own way through it. If the world tells her no, she'll find a way to say yes to herself. But here's the thing that's truly extraordinary. She doesn't just build these bridges for herself, she builds them for others too. When she finds a way through a challenge, she doesn't hoard her knowledge or keep her methods a secret. She shares them. She shows others that the walls they see in their own lives aren't permanent either. She creates connections, fosters community, and invites others to walk across the bridges she's built. This doesn't mean it's easy. Building bridges takes time, effort, and faith. There are moments when she questions whether it's worth it, whether it might be easier to give up and accept the wall as it is. But her resilience is her anchor. She understands that growth happens in the struggle, and that her ability to persevere isn't just for her own benefit, it's for everyone who's watching her, whether they realize it or not. Her bridges might not always look perfect. They might be patched together with borrowed materials, held together by sheer willpower and creativity. But they work. They serve their purpose. They remind everyone who crosses them that obstacles don't have to define the limits of what's possible. She teaches us that the way we see the world matters. Walls are everywhere, but so are opportunities to create something new. Her life is proof that you don't have to wait for circumstances to change. You can change how you respond to them. And in doing so, you not only move yourself forward, but you pave the way for others to do the same. Her bridges are her legacy, a testament to her vision, her grit, and her refusal to let anything stop her from moving toward the life she deserves. In a world that often pits people against one another, where success is measured by comparison and worth is too often tied to competition, the woman who fights alone stands as a quiet revolution. Her strength doesn't inspire jealousy or rivalry, it inspires connection. She's not interested in outshining anyone else, nor does she measure her value by being better than others. Her journey is deeply personal, rooted not in proving herself to the world, but in becoming the best version of herself. And in that authenticity, she creates something rare, a space where others feel seen, understood, and empowered. When people look at her, they don't see someone trying to dominate or compete. They see someone who is real. Someone who has struggled, someone who understands what it means to feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Her strength isn't intimidating because it doesn't come from perfection or invincibility. It comes from vulnerability, from resilience, from the countless moments when she chose to keep going despite the odds. And because her strength is so deeply human, it invites others to embrace their humanity too. She doesn't hide her scars or pretend she's never fallen. Instead, she shares her story not for sympathy or admiration, but because she knows the power of connection. She knows that by being honest about her struggles, she's giving others permission to be honest about theirs. She's saying, you're not alone. I've been there too. And in a world where so many people feel isolated by their challenges, those words can be a lifeline. Her strength is a reminder that we're all walking our own paths, and there's no need to compare the speed, direction, or terrain of someone else's journey to our own. She teaches us that someone else's success doesn't diminish our own, and that someone else's struggle doesn't make ours any less valid. She creates a sense of community by focusing on shared experiences rather than differences, on empathy rather than judgment. But what's truly remarkable is that her strength doesn't just connect people, it inspires them. When others see her rise after falling, they start to believe that they can rise too. When they watch her build a life out of nothing but determination and grit, they begin to see possibilities for themselves. Her story becomes a spark, lighting a fire in others to face their own battles with courage and grace. She teaches us that true strength doesn't create walls, it tears them down. It doesn't put others in the shadow, it lifts them into the light. Her strength is rooted in kindness, in humility, in the understanding that we are all more alike than we are different. And that is why it inspires connection instead of comparison, because it's not about her being better. It's about her showing us all what's possible when we choose to show up for ourselves and for each other. Well, her strength reminds us that life is not a competition to be won, but a journey to be shared. And when we choose connection over comparison, we not only grow stronger ourselves, but create a world where everyone has the chance to rise. That's her gift to us, and it's one we should cherish deeply. So tonight, let's honor the woman who fights alone, not because she's invincible, but because she's real. Let's remember that her story isn't just hers, it's ours. Her fight reminds us that courage is found in the small moments, that strength comes from vulnerability, and that none of us are truly alone. And maybe, just maybe, her story will inspire us to fight our own battles with just a little more grace, courage, and compassion. Thank you.